Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. For today's episode, we have Trent. You can find him at the Miami Heat Network. We also have Martel. You can find him at the Miami Heat Zone podcast. And then, of course, we have another guest for you. We got Trevor Booth, who covers the Phoenix Suns. So, Trevor, thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it. But before we get started, you want to let the audience know a little bit about the work that you're doing for the Suns?
No, appreciate you guys. Really excited to be on a Miami Heat show. Obviously, these two teams are connected. I've covered the Suns for the last 4 years as a credentialed media member. Right now, I'm with SB Nation, and I'm doing some independent work on the side. So it's a little bit of my background.
Awesome. Yeah, we needed to do a crossover episode with someone from the Suns organization, and so we haven't had that conversation yet. So we're really excited to chat. And obviously, Jimmy Butler right now, that's the biggest news right now, and the last domino to fall. Like, we weren't expecting Luka Doncic to get traded. We could talk about that later, but that was probably one of the biggest trades in NBA history. De'Aaron Fox, we knew that he was going to eventually get to the Spurs, so that's not as shocking, but still pretty big deal. And the third piece now, Jimmy Butler still has not been traded yet. We have a few days until the NBA trade deadline. He only wants to play for the Suns, like any team. You know, Jimmy Butler at one point said anywhere but Miami, and then he started saying no to Memphis, no to the Kings, no to the Bucks. Last night he said no to the Warriors. He wouldn't sign an extension. So he is trying everything in his power to get to the Phoenix Suns. So what's your analysis like on the latest and the situation? And what are your thoughts of the Suns actually acquiring Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know if this is appropriate to say on your guys' podcast, but I was on Twitter Live last night on the Spaces, and I was telling people, I'm like, once this saga ends, like, I'm going to crack open a beer and just like give my brain a break. You know, like it's been a hectic thing for the last 6-8 weeks that it's been out there that he's been connected to the Suns. Look, Phoenix is obviously in a situation where they got to win now. They've got a record payroll. It's over $400 million. It's $229 million, I think, for the players that they're paying. Kevin Durant is getting older. Devin Booker is in a situation where he's in his prime. He's already been through the ringer of 6 seasons and I think 6 coaches in that span. So, and this was a team that just went to the finals a couple years ago and you think would be on the upswing of its trajectory. I think Jimmy Butler moves the needle for this team a little bit, but obviously there's the health concerns. There's the fit concerns in terms of, you want to have outside shooting. You want to have a guy who's going to be able to pick up 94 feet if needed and guard the opposing team's best player. The Suns are having a rookie do that right now. So, it's a good basketball fit. I think it keeps the Suns alive in that hopes of a title. But there is a big obstacle in the way, and you guys know it. It's that Bradley Beal contract and the no trade clause, and potentially him waiving that no trade clause if he gets moved, because I don't think anyone wants to have him kind of dictate the terms, just given where he's at in his career and how bad that contract is right now.
So then, Trevor, why would Bernie Lee and Jimmy Butler pretty much orchestrate this deal to go to Phoenix when they actually kind of went about it the smart way? Because technically, they never really requested a trade, out in public compared to Damian Lillard. Because a lot of people, they were saying, well, how come he can only say Phoenix? Technically, it never really came out of their own mouths. It's coming out through shams and through backdoor deals. But why do you think that Jimmy would request Phoenix only when you have to count on Bradley Beal to pretty much waive his no trade clause? And then at the same time, now we have to find teams that are willing to take on Bradley Beal. And then also, you have to look at it from the Miami standpoint where they don't want long-term contracts. Okay, they want win-now players, and then they also want draft capital. So why do you think, he chose to go this route when all he had to do was just play at a very high level, and multiple teams probably would even have wanted him and pay for him?
I think that's a really good question. That there might be something we don't know, but yeah, there's a lot coming in the way. Obviously, Jimmy is playing his cards the way he wants to. And Matt Ishbia, in terms of the Sun side, the majority owner, it has been very aggressive in the past in getting things done. The Suns out here have moved Bradley Beal to the bench. They moved actually Yusuf Nurkic to the bench to the starting center. So I'm sure there's things going on behind the scenes, but I'm asking you that same question because there's a lot of obstacles. It doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah. So, thanks again for coming on the show, Trevor. I'm kind of gonna go to the Sun side because I'm a little nosy. Just a quick question. So, I've been hearing, and I don't know how true this is because rumors they're rumors for a reason. But I seen a report that came out last night and today that the Warriors contacted uh the Suns for Kevin Durant. And also they've been not listening to the offers, but teams have been calling for Kevin Durant and stuff like that. And then also, what's going on with Yusuf Nurkic? Is he eventually going to get traded? Because I know he has a massive contract. You're probably going to have to offload a first-round pick. Are they willing to do that? Like, what's the situation with that? And just your honest opinion on Bradley Beal. Like, Bradley Beal probably has one of the worst contracts in NBA history with Paul George, I would say, just because of the no trade clause. And when I say the no trade, he could dictate this whole trade thing. Like, I want to be here, and it is what it is. You can't do nothing about it. You traded for me. So, like, yeah, just I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but just interested in that.
Yeah, no, I'll start with Nurkic. This has been a strange situation. So going back to last year when they traded DeAndre Ayton for him, Matt Ishbia had said, again, majority owner on media day, that he felt this was a better fit for the team. And then now here we are a year and a half later, where Nurkic has come out in the media, local media on our side, saying that he does that there's a situation going on where there's more to this situation than you think in terms of this chemistry being broken, and that he and Mike Budenholzer apparently had not talked in 2 months. So I've been following closely our local reporter, Dwayne Rankin, who's reported that Nurkic has been actively shopped recently with the Atlanta Hawks. That's a team that's come up. He's not even in the rotation right now. Like, he's basically the fourth string center. So I expect him to get moved. Bradley Beal, that's where I'll go next. Beal's kind of, I don't know. They traded a lot for him. Again, they traded a lot for Kevin Durant. They traded a lot for Bradley Beal. I think it was 5 second-round picks. And now he's in a situation where, if you read the reports over The Athletic, he said in the local media too that he holds the cards. Apparently there's some teams that he would want to go to. I bet Miami would be one. You guys probably know his relationship with Bam. They're very close. But I don't know with that. And what was the last one that you said, Trent?
I just keep hearing I don't want to say breaking news, but I just keep hearing news
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I don't see them trading Durant, but they said the Warriors called and teams are calling for Durant. Then this dude just reported like a minute ago, actually, I'm asking this question, that the Suns are like fielding like Kevin Durant trades, which doesn't make sense to me. They want to win, but I don't know. Luka got traded, so at this point, I don't know. Anybody can get traded.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that if they can't get Bradley Beal to waive his no trade clause, if he's going to hold the cards like he said he would, then the Suns are basically stuck in a situation. And then they're 8th in the West right now. They're not, I know they've been on a streak a little bit, but they've been playing teams below 500 and not nearly at the level of playoff competition. So that's the only thing I could think of, is if Bradley Beal will not waive his no trade clause, if they can't get a third star to replace him, that maybe that opens the door for Matt Ishbia to say, okay, we're in a situation where we got to unload and reset this thing. There's been another reporter local at PHNX, Gerald Bergay, who's reported that the Suns don't have interest in moving Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, but this seems to be a fluid situation. Like you said, Luka got dealt. So who's untouchable now? We don't know.
Hey, what I will say, if Durant's available, come to Miami. I'll take you 2 to 3 years in Miami. Let's see what you can do. But
right,
how bad do you want Jimmy Butler? Would you trade Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler? That would be a big pivot, right? Obviously, they want to pair Jimmy Butler with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but I don't see that happening. I don't see them moving on from Kevin Durant. But my question, though, Trevor, so again, with the Bradley Beal piece, I know Bartelstein has come out basically saying that we haven't even had serious talks about waiving that for a specific team. And you mentioned there's a few teams he might, including the Heat. But do you see a world where any other team wants to take on Bradley Beal's contract? Because again, there needs to be a 3-4 team trade in order to facilitate a trade, because the Heat have reiterated, we do not want Bradley Beal. The Heat could have got Bradley Beal because he wanted to go to the Miami Heat 2 years ago, right? We could have got him for those 5 second-round picks. So again, Trent mentioned it earlier, probably one of the worst contracts in the NBA. He's the 5th highest player in the NBA. He's nowhere near being a top 20 player in the NBA. Maybe he's probably top 40 at this point, right? He's still a good player.
Right.
Obviously, he's confined within his role on this team, but he's still on the wrong side of 30 for a guy who's been injury prone most of his career, missing on average 25, 30 games a season. I don't even know how many games he's missed this season, but I guarantee it's over double digits at this point, right? So
Yeah.
do you see a world though, like where any other team will actually take on Bradley Beal? And then 2, it has to be a good team. Like I don't see him going to the Raptors or like a Pistons team like that's in a rebuild. So what are your thoughts on that? Because there are also the second part too is there's rumblings now that the Miami Heat might consider taking on Beal in those 3 first-round picks. So do you see that as a possibility where the Miami Heat actually cave? Because I don't, but I just want to hear your opinion.
Right. I don't think so. I think I've said that from the beginning that they hold pretty much leverage, unless I'm misunderstanding it, where they could hold on to him through the summer and then just figure this thing out. Run team that's come up in conversations that I've had is the Chicago Bulls, given that he played with Billy Donovan. I don't know why Chicago would want to take on that contract. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially with where they're at. And now they just offloaded Zach LaVine. So why would they want to bring on Bradley Beal? But that's something that's floated around. I know Sacramento, but now they just made the thing was another team I'd heard. So I'm really lost in this situation too. And then like Bradley Beal said, he holds the cards. His family's out here. I think his wife just opened a business out here, if I'm not mistaken, out here in Phoenix. So that's another player in this situation. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys saw it, but like Bradley Beal has gotten a lot of criticism from Suns fans, like at games. And
They've
like,
been
people
cooking
are
him so bad, yelling at his sons.
at his kids. Yeah. And like, I can't understand that. I will say this just, since, I am in the media and I get to see Brad every day. Like Brad is a really good, authentic dude. It's not anything to do with Brad's personality. I think it's just more so this contract, man. And so long answer a little bit, but those were the 2 teams I'd heard. So maybe we turn our eyes to Chicago a little bit.
So then, Trevor, how do you think that Devin Booker just feels about this whole situation? Because pretty much since Chris Paul has left, they really haven't been successful. So where do you really see the future with Devin Booker?
That's a great question. So I'll say this: the worst fear of Phoenix Suns fans in this whole week that people are asking about is if Devin Booker is going to be on the roster by Thursday. Like that has been floated out there, not in the media. I don't think there's any substantial. Well, actually, if you go to the Houston report from Shams last summer, right? If the Suns potentially break this thing up, I think that's a big fear in terms of Book's perspective. He's always said that Phoenix is his home. I think the loyalty thing is really important for him. The Kobe Bryant type mentality, finishing out your career for one team. In the same breath, he is in his prime. He did go through a lot, of the Suns being at the bottom of the West 3 times in his first 6 years. Like, I don't know if he would want to be in a rebuilding type situation. And Book's kind of he's like an old 28, 29, right? He's been in the league 10 years. That's half of when LeBron has been in. So, given that he is young, but he's got older legs, he's had hamstring injuries, So I wonder if that creeps in his mind, like, if they can't put together something and figure this out, like, would he want out? That's been floated out there before.
Yeah, no, definitely. My question would be for like just an NBA question in general. The trade deadline is about like 2 or 3 days away around there. Any trade that you expect or you want to happen, after all this crazy stuff. I think if Jimmy Butler does get traded, and I already think it's one of the craziest trade deadlines ever, but if Jimmy Butler does get traded, outside of that Jimmy trade, just being an NBA fan watching hoops, is there any specific trade that you want to happen? Could be with the Heat, could be anywhere. I mean, I'm hearing Vucevic, maybe the Warriors, like, because Zach LaVine shipped off too now. So Cam Johnson, any specific team?
We talked about, I'd like to see Cam Johnson in Oklahoma City, just from a basketball fan standpoint, and how that unlocks their offense and gives Shea another weapon and allows their wings to kind of float more freely offensively. As someone who watched Cam Johnson for a lot of years, I think that would make that team dangerous for years to come. And, I say that in the fact that the NBA is in a weird state where we don't know who the next like star American might be. So it's cool for, well, I guess Shay's Canadian. So, but I'd like to see like something pick up, like whether it's a team or something that attracts more people back to the NBA amid all that stuff. So I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But Cam Johnson, Oklahoma City would be a really big pickup for them.
Yeah, you mentioned attracting people back to the NBA because obviously ratings have been down over the past 4 years or so, and there's different reasons to blame for that, like the 3-point shooting, the lack of rivalries, load management. There's a lot of things, but what are your thoughts on the whole Luka to the Lakers thing? Because I think that's part of it, perhaps. Like it's happened, it happened in the shadows. Like I don't believe that LeBron didn't know about this. Like like everything runs through LeBron. Like he's the GM for a reason, but obviously when there's fair weather fans or like the casual fans gravitate towards the big market teams, like the glitz and glamour of Los Angeles. So now they have their cornerstone for the future. I think it was a ridiculous trade, like only giving up one pick in Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is being severely underrated, but I don't care. He's 31. He's injury prone. He's not 25. I know Luka's overweight, but overweight Luka still averaging almost a triple double and took his team to the finals the year prior without having a elite team. So what is your thoughts on the Luka to the Lakers scenario?
I just, as someone in Phoenix and someone who grew up rooting for the Suns, I hate it that the Lakers just like basically walked in their next star for the next 10 years. I'll say that. And then like, to get one pick out of the whole situation, like for one pick to get Luka, like I was listening on the radio yesterday and they were talking about all the teams that could potentially trade. I think like, their franchise stars, maybe there's 3 teams like the Spurs with Wemby, the Thunder with Shea, and the Wolves with Ant, and everybody else, I think he would do it. But they seem to be really intent on Anthony Davis and the weight concerns. I don't know. I feel like there's more of the story that we just don't know about. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, again, I was thinking when Fox got the 3 picks, like Zach LaVine is not Anthony Davis, so it's not like it's not apples to apples in comparison. Like, of course, you're going to have to give more draft capital because the return in terms of that, the win now player is Zach LaVine versus Anthony Davis, who's one of the best two-way players, an NBA champion, who's also having a really good year himself. So I'm just the biggest anti-Laker fan. So that just rubbed me the wrong way. And just because, it's just like the Lakers just get their way. Like they find their way after the Shaq and Kobe saga. Kobe ended up getting Powell. And then, of course, they end up getting LeBron James and then Anthony Davis. And now they get Luka. So, like, I don't think they're going to win anytime soon. But now that Luka's there at 25 years old, like, and once LeBron leaves and they get that salary off the books, what superstar is going to want to join Luka now in LA, right? Like, that's the scary thought because the Lakers are always going to be relevant now that they have Luka in Los Angeles. So I'm frustrated about that. But Trevor, before we hop off, my last question before we close, how do you see this Jimmy Butler saga ending? Do you see him ending up on the Suns, another team, or staying with the Miami Heat for the remainder of the year? What's your prediction on that? And then we'll close.
I'm going to say he comes to Phoenix. I think the Suns find a way. Matt Ishbia has really gotten his way since he's been out here aggressively investing into this team. I think from what I've read and what Shams has put out, and you guys might be able to add some perspective, like it seems like that this divorce needs to happen. They have the same goal reportedly of making it happen this week. If he's really just going to do all this, for Phoenix, I don't want to say it would come down to I don't think it will come down to the Bradley Beal thing, but I think they will find a way based on like little rumblings that I've heard, based on how much Jimmy Butler is pushing for this situation to happen. And around the NBA, he's making it very clear that he doesn't want to extend with anybody else. So that's really, putting a lot of leverage in his hands, with the summer and the opting in and just deciding like, hey, I'm going to go to Phoenix anyway. Like, it seems like this is just inevitable. And in a league where stars get their way, I see him ending up on the Suns.
I'm okay with it as long as it's not for Bradley Beal and the 3 first round pick. If there needs to be a third team or fourth team involved, then I'm okay with that. But yeah, I kind of agree with you, but I can also see the Bucks or the Memphis Grizzlies getting that rental as those dark horses because they might be willing to give us some sort of package to match the salaries that the Miami Heat might have to do just because I don't I don't see him getting suspended for the 4th time.
Yeah.
You know, like, so being suspended 3 times and indefinitely, like, I just find it hard to imagine a world where Jimmy Butler plays for the Miami Heat or is within this organization, even if we, pay him to stay at home, which the Miami Heat do not want to do. So
Right.
anyway, Trevor, thank you so much for
Yeah.
hopping on the show. We really appreciate the time. And again, before you hop off, do you want to let the audience know where they can find you?
Yeah, if you want to follow me at Trevor, my name on here, and then the letter initial M Booth on Twitter X, you can get a lot of my thoughts and work. So that's it.
Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.